Look, yesterday was all about Labour and the Māori Party working, I understand, under a corporate set up a few months ago by John Tamahiri's daughter. So the whole thing was a very corporate and very slick protest movement. And as you've heard this morning, a lot of the people were there because they had believed the lies that the Māori Party and Labour were telling them and that the mainstream media were backing and perpetrating. Who wasn't there? Well, Seymour tried to be. Luxon was nowhere to be seen. Geez, he's in a like a pig in a poke in this. He really is. And I didn't see a lot of Winston Peters because part of my conversations with the people who were at the protest was, look, this bill's got no chance of getting passed, but wait till you see what New Zealand First is proposing, and then you're going to get whipped into a frenzy again. So I am interested in the perspective of New Zealand First and its leader, Winston Peters, who joins us on the line from his parliamentary office by video link now. Mr. Peters, a very good morning to you. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
You've been around a long time. That was a big protest yesterday. That's the biggest I've ever seen outside Parliament. It was massive, wasn't it?
Well, I've seen big protests here. I didn't think there was any matter of sort of arguing about the numbers, but it certainly wasn't 45 and 50,000, or as Ngāra Paka is claiming, something like 82,000. This is just a ridiculous claim. And the reality is that a number of them were there just to be part of something without even knowing about it. You had a whole lot of children there who had been told they should come along, and there they were, all there, giving their views, so to speak. It was actually extraordinary when you look at it in a Maori context, that the mainstream media would start interviewing small children, 7 or 8 years of age, and asking them what's going on. It's just about, it is a confession of the mainstream media that they don't know what on earth they're doing when it comes to issues like this.
I could say much of our coverage this morning has been that when we got amongst it and talked to people, they had been woefully misinformed by the Māori Party, by the Labour Party, and indeed by the mainstream media. They were believing everything they were being told, that their culture and Māori were under threat from a racist government, and that's what motivated to come out. And in some ways it was very, very sad. And I think had it not been for their great collective behaviour, yesterday could have been a horrible indictment on a society that has been constantly gaslit and lied to.
Well, you put it precisely as it happened. You had the Māori Party, who had, for example, has got this recent history. They have falsified their returns with respect to the charitable donations and charitable Charities Act in this country. They have falsified the preparation of the electoral rolls in the seats in the last election. They have cheated a man called Pina Henare out of his seat by what I call corrupt electoral practices. It's all there, and I'm wanting to know, what are the institutions doing about it? What's the Electoral Commission doing about it? What's the Serious Fraud Office doing about it? God knows they took us on when they had no case at all and spent $4.2 million. And here comes a case as obvious as anything, and they're doing nothing. And so they're going to be called to account very shortly and asked to explain why you aren't enforcing the law. Yeah. You have got a pretty perverse idea what the law is, but here's the real issue. The Māori people just simply lied to you yesterday. You had Ngāra Paka and others, Ari Waititi, making claims which are just ridiculous, extraordinary in that sense. But back home in New Zealand, the mass majority of Māori, about 95%, stayed on, kept on working, kept on trying to make money for their families and for their whānau, so to speak. And people forgetting this. That's the face of real Māori, not this bunch that turned up in some cases yesterday, streaming from the left, shouting genocide and every other false narrative, and singing an anthem of hate.
Yeah, I'll be honest, Mr. Peters, for our observation, the most extreme, outspoken were white women. White woke women seem to be, if you like, the most extreme that march. And I would take this positive from it. When we sat down at the back bench, I know you couldn't make it for a beer afterwards and talk to these people. Yeah. They're actually pretty decent people. New Zealanders are decent people, Māori or Pākehā, and I think that shone through when you got amongst it yesterday. and I know that I think the Speaker was worried about the crowd storming Parliament. It was a pretty good day, when you took away the political rhetoric.
Well, I think you can right when you think that was the only real positive, because what you had, as I said yesterday, if they were concerned about this legislation in reality and not being used for political purposes, why didn't they give me a phone call? I could tell them, don't waste their time. The bill's dead on arrival. We all know that.
All right. I also told people, if you don't like David Seymour's bill, which is a dead duck, it's a dead man walking, wait till you see what New Zealand First has in store. You have a piece of legislation which is designed to remove all references to the principles of the Treaty of Waitangi from all regulation and legislation except those pieces which are dealing with, if you like, treaty reparations or treaty settlements. What is that bill going to be called? When will it be introduced?
Well, what we're doing, we've got a whole lot of statements that were made in our coalition agreement, and I invite people to read them. They're under the subheading of equal citizenship. And we've already set out to do it. We've stopped, for example, all work on Hīkoi. This nonsense thing was done behind the backs of the government 2 terms ago. And then you have the Declaration on Indigenous Rights of the UN. Well, we stopped all recognition of that as well, as we did when I was Foreign Minister and got Helen Clark to say, we're not signing up to that. We've stopped half the nonsense that the National Party put in place because it's not helping any Māori at all, and it's divisive. So what we're also doing is getting together the list of legislative references that refer to the Treaty of Waitangi when it's got no relationship whatsoever to the issue. Refers to the principles of the Treaty of Waitangi.
Will that be a single piece of legislation, Mr. Peters?
Well, I can say we're flat out working on it now, but none of it mentions a single piece of legislation.
All right.
For example, we say, we'll reverse measures taken in recent years which have eroded the principle of equal citizenship. Specifically, we'll do the following things and remove co-governance from the delivery of public services. We hardly got into the situation of government.
And that doesn't need a bill that goes to select committee for those changes to be implemented?
No.
All right.
Sean, experience in politics matters.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't that experience to get ourselves caught up in something that another party like the Party Māori can falsify as to what its consequences are, which is sadly what David Seymour's got himself into.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you too, because of your experience, I'm finding it very difficult to see any daylight between the Labour's Māori caucus and the Māori Party. It's almost as if they have morphed into one political movement. And we saw that during the haka in the House the other day. Penny Henare, who you mentioned earlier, and Mr. Halbert joining the Māori Party in that display in the debating chamber. And I'm wondering if the Labour Party now simply isn't an extension of the Māori Party.
Well, it's a good question.